And so there are three big things that are happening to us that haven't happened in our lifetime. I like to measure things so I can see them in numbers and charts and so on. And those three big things are, first, the amount of debt and money creation, how much debt we have, the rate at which we are creating it, and then where we're getting that money from, the Federal Reserve and other central banks printing it. So that has never happened to this degree except for the 1930 to 45 period, which I studied before, and I needed to go back and study that in history. The second of those two things is the amount of internal conflict, populism of the left and the right, irreconcilable differences, with the largest wealth gaps that have existed, so the greatest political gaps, the greatest amount of populism, largest wealth gaps, since you have to go back to the 1930 to 45 period, and actually it's larger than that, and you have to go back to 1900 to see that. By the way, if you want to see it, you'll see the charts in that. So we have a financial issue. We have an internal conflict issue that has very big implications for how well our country is run, but also what does it mean for taxes? What does it mean for the value of assets? I need to understand that. And the third was international conflict. So in my whole lifetime, the United States was clearly a dominant power, and we were in the American world order. 1945, the United States became the leading world power, accounted for half world GDP. We had 80% of the world's money, because gold was money then, and we had a military monopoly. And so the reason that we were the world's power, that's why the United Nations is in New York, and IMF and World Bank are in Washington, so dominant. But we could see this conflict, this emerging competition. And the last time that happened was the 1930 to 45 period, and I need to study that. And so I studied that pattern, and these are the big things in our lives right now, but we are not acquainted with it. And so I needed to study the rise and declines of currencies, the rise and declines of empires. And because these cycles go on, over a long period of time, I needed to see enough of those cases, so I had to go back, let's say, the 500 years. So I studied all of those. Now, I'm not an academic, I'm a practitioner. So it's not like I'm writing history books. It's for the purpose of making decisions today. So what I learned there has been important in our positioning in the markets right now. So it's just that practical. But those are the three big things. I also saw in history that there were two other things that were very important. One was acts of nature actually toppled more civilizations, killed more people than the others that I just mentioned. And they are droughts, floods, and pandemics. But like a pandemic, that's another one that comes along once in a lifetime and we don't see it. And then, of course, the most important force over a long period of time is man's adaptability and inventiveness. And now we have a greater ability. And that's the plus. The others are challenging. So that's it in a nutshell. When I say these things, I use measures. There are 18 measures of health, and you can see them in the book. And they're measures of things like what is your percentage of world GDP, what is your percentage of exports, how your reserve currency, but also what is your education level of education, what is your competitiveness, 18 measures of that. And we are in decline. We're declining on a relative basis, but even also some measures in an absolute basis. So that's what the arc is. And then China has been the leading competitor. I've been having, for not since 1984, I've been going to China. I watch it since I started going there. Per capita income has increased by 26 times. And so if you use measures of comparability in military, technology, share of world GDP, all of that, you see that. That is the only real power. There are military powers, but history has shown if you're a military power and you're not an economic power, while you may be a threat, you're not going to win the war. It's all a matter of basics. Do you earn more than you spend? Okay, do you have a good income statement? And do you have a good balance sheet? Do you have one or two parents who care for you and give you the guidance and the values? Can I go to a good public school and have food and health care and come out with an environment of equal opportunity? That's all you need. That's all you need. Because if you do those things, you will have a civil population that will be productive and that you will be financially capable, strong, and so you're going to do things better and better and you'll be strong. So it comes down to those fundamentals. When I look at one country or another and I'm thinking, where do I want to invest? It's like I'm looking at those things. Do they have a problem with internal conflict or is it orderly? Just those basics. Now, the question is, can we do those basics? Okay? So, how are we doing on those basics? You have measures to judge that. Yes, we can do it. And I think the most important thing is how we are with each other. Like, do we have a democracy in which we can come together and have a very strong bipartisan middle, okay, and then work on dealing with those things? Like, Governor Lamont touched on some of those basics. So that becomes the big question, I think.
Do you want to retire early? Do you love freedom? Do you want to work only 1 to 2 hours a day while traveling around the world and spend more time with your family? You can start stock investing and option trading right now. If you want to know more about finance, stocks, options, real estate, crypto, check out our playlist: stock investing, stock trading, option trading, real estate, cryptocurrency.